Hey guys, it's Meg and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be setting up my bullet journal for February, so grab your supplies and let's get into it. So for most people in their February bullet journals, they tend to go with a Valentine's theme with hearts or flowers or something, but I wanted to go with something a little bit different, something a bit more me. So my thoughts behind this theme was, instead of just doing love as the theme, I wanted to choose something that I love to do. So my boyfriend and I especially love to go out for walks and being out in nature, so that is why I've chosen to go with a mountains and camping sort of theme. So I'm starting this February bullet journal setup with a quote page on the left hand side of this double spread, and I've gone with a quote from Mamma Mia, and it says, "Life is short, the world is wide, and I want to make some memories." And I don't know why, but when I came to doing my setup earlier today, this quote was just in my head, so I double checked I had the words right, and I think this matches the theme really well. When I decided I was going to do an outdoorsy theme for my February setup, I already had in mind some minimal drawings that I'd seen on Pinterest, and I've actually used previously a few years ago when I was trying out bullet journaling, but I never stuck to it at the time, so I already had that in mind. So I went on Pinterest again, saved a few to a board, just so I could get a bit of inspiration, and then I used that sort of style to create my own designs. And because I'm going for a much more minimal theme this time, I'm using these smaller sized pens that I've got, just to make the lines really fine and add to the minimalist aesthetic. And so throughout this setup, I'm using a 0.3 for all of the text and some of the thicker lines, then I'm using a 0.2 for the majority of the drawing, and then a 0.1 or 0.05 pen for all the little details. I'm then going to be adding a little bit of colour to these. Because it's minimalist, I'm only using a little bit of colour, but I still did want to add some colour to the page, so I'm using my Crayola Super Tips for this. And I spent a bit of time before I started just trying out the different colours to make sure I could get the colour palette that I wanted. And for this, because it is an outdoors theme, I'm going with quite earthy tones, so some greens and browns and greys, and quite a warm yellowy orange for the stars and the moon and the sun. You'll also notice that I'm not colouring in the illustration as a whole, I'm just going over some of the lines and some of the smaller details, just to add a pop of colour but not detract too much from the minimalist aesthetic. Then it's time to move on to my cover page. So although this double page spread is kind of acting as a double cover page, the left hand side is definitely a quote page and this right side is what I would consider the cover. So I'm just writing Hello February in my favourite bouncy hand lettering style, and then I'm just adding a little illustration down at the bottom of somebody sitting on a blanket with a telescope and kind of stargazing. So I thought this tied in really well. Again, it's just a little minimalist illustration I found on Pinterest that I thought would fit with this theme really well, and the stars tie in perfectly with the quote page on the left hand side. I've done a couple of themes now where I've put stars in the sky, and I've kind of perfected how I like to have them. So I always like to have a mix of classic stars, the 4-pointed stars, a little crescent moon, and I always add some dots and mini circles into the background as well, just because this adds to the busyness of the night sky without having to draw so many little stars all the time. Then whenever I'm colouring in any of the details in this spread, I'll just make sure I'm sticking with colours from the same colour palette, and it just helps tie everything together. So like here where I'm giving this person a green t-shirt and brown hair, it just ties in with all the theme colours I've used on the previous page. Then it's on to my trackers, and for February I'm just going to include a mood tracker and a sleep tracker. Normally I would also include a habit tracker, but I've decided I would include this on the weekly spreads this time. But that is the beauty of bullet journaling. As you go through the year, you don't have to have your monthly setups the exact same. So if you try something out in January and decide you don't really need that page, or you'd prefer to have more pages or less, then you can change it up the following month. So for my mood tracker, I am creating a little illustration at the bottom of the page, and this is including some little minimalist stick kind of trees and a tent and also a little washing line, again inspired by some little doodles I found on Pinterest that I really liked. and then I'm going to use the stars as the mood tracker. So I'm using a mixture of the classic 5 pointed stars and the 4 pointed stars, and I will be including 28 of these so that I can then colour them in each day and match it up with the little moods that I've created at the bottom. I've just used smiley faces, which has become the new normal for me. I did originally use the words for the emotions, but I just find the little smiley faces work better and they take up less room on your page. So also, if you wanted to use this setup for a different month, just make sure you include the right number of days as the right number of stars, and then you'll be good to go. Then onto the sleep tracker. I'm trying to make this page very similar to the mood tracker just so that they work well sitting next to each other. So I've gone with the same line at the bottom of the page and having the titles in the same sort of font and at the same height on the page. And then I'm just setting up my usual sleep tracker, which consists of the days of the month down the left hand side and the times of night across the top so that you can draw a line or highlight where you were asleep from and until. And then I've also added an energy bar on the right hand side. This is something that I've seen Carrie Walker using in her bullet journals, and I just thought it would be really fun to try out and track how much energy I feel like I have and comparing that with how good a sleep I got. Then just like on the mood tracker, I'm using a brown line across the bottom to kind of represent the earth, and then the same green colours I've been using throughout on the trees, and that nice warm orangey yellow for the stars and the moon. Then it's on to my first weekly spread. So this is a setup I quite often use. I like to have a little section for an illustration to tie in with the theme, and I often use either the outsides of the pages or the middle section like I am here. So I'm just separating the two pages into quarters so that I have 8 little boxes. This means I've then got a box for each day of the week and a little section in the top left that I can use for the title, so for February, and I'm also including my habit tracker in my weekly spreads as I said at the start, so that's what I've got in the top left, and then I can start filling in my little design in the middle section. So here I'm putting in some mountains, and I've also got a big sun in the background. This is going to be a daytime spread compared to the other designs I've used, which have been nighttime ones with the stars, so I thought it would be nice to have something a bit different, but it still ties in with the theme really well. And I've got a waterfall running down the middle of the mountains, and then some little trees on the side that match the rest of the spreads. It's definitely not the easiest drawing in the middle of the book like this, where the pages join together, but I think it has a really nice effect when you open it up to the full spread and you've got this nice image right at the centre. Then it's time to add some colour, so I'm starting colouring in the sun. My top tip is to always go around the edge first, then try to colour in straight lines going in the same direction, because when you colour in felt tip pen you can often see the sort of streaks anyway, so at least if they're all going in the same direction then it looks a lot neater and it doesn't draw your eye as much as if they were quite scribbly and all going in different directions. On the waterfall I've tried using a lighter colour blue to add in some of the little waves and ripples in the water, and then a darker blue for the rest of the colour. I'm not sure how well this will stand out by the end, but it was worth a try and hopefully you can see it once it's all coloured in. I'm then just going around the edge of the mountains in grey as I have done previously, and alternating between the different greens on the trees, and I'm using the same brown as I used for the earth to highlight the different lines on my habit tracker, and then I'm alternating between the green and the yellow to highlight the days of the week, and using the waterfall blue to highlight February in the title. And there you have it, my February bullet journal setup complete. I really hope you like it. I'm really happy with it. I love how the colours have tied together and all the pages just match up perfectly. Let me know if you like this spread, and let me know if you think you might give this theme a try. But thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.